This is a lot of books. I feel like most people who like books, I have a book problem. I have a book buying problem, and then I have a long TBR of books that I haven't read, and then I tell myself I'm not going to buy any more books until I finish my TBR. That never happens. So I thought I would go in and talk about all the books that I bought in the latter half of 2023. I had no self-control. So let's get into it because it's going to be a long one. So the first book I'm going to talk about, let me take off this sticker. I hate these stickers, is Starbringer by Tracy Wolff and Nina Croft. I have not really heard many people talking about it, but when I saw this book and I also saw the description of it, I was like, I'm sold. This is a new adult sci-fi romance, which I don't get enough of. I feel like the sci-fi romance that I see is usually like straight up erotica and there's not enough adventure sci-fi romance. If you have any recommendations, let me know. So this is a new adult sci-fi romance about a group of people that they end up kind of sequestered together in this like spaceship after the space station that they were on was blown up, and it's like this very unlikely gang. It seems like a found family trope, which I love, and like also romance trope. There's like a princess, there's a bodyguard, there's a con artist, there's a whole cluster of characters, and those are like my favorite tropes. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I really will let you know what I think about it because I don't see enough people talking about this book, and it looks really good, even though it seems like it was like popular. And it's by Red Tower Books, which I have actually started really liking, the publishing company of Red Tower. This is the same publishing company that I believe Iron Flame is made. So on that note, I had to do it. I got the special edition of Fourth Wing. We'll start with that. This is just the same book. I do think that it has an extra chapter from Zayden's point of view, and it says it at the back. It's also sprayed edge black. I wish it had like the little dragons on it, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, and I was so happy when I picked it up. I pre-ordered it before it was even like announced. In case you don't know, Fourth Wing is about this girl that she ends up in a military academy to ride dragons, and the plot thickens from there, and it is a new adult fantasy romance, very much heavy on the romance, and the fantasy is also super cool too. So that's that. And then this is Iron Flame, which is the second one in that. I also got the special edition. I actually ended up ordering 2 of these because I didn't know after I ordered it, it started turning like white at the edges, and I really wanted to have the sprayed edges. So I'll see what I do with that extra copy that I have, but I am really excited to get into it this month. I didn't read it last month. I've avoided spoilers so far. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't like it or that it has really mixed reviews. I feel like I just need to make my own opinion. I literally, all I know is that it has mixed reviews, but I don't expect anything else since this is a 5-book series and this is only book 2. And then we got some published Reylo fanfiction. I love how much fanfiction was published like from the Reylo universe. I feel like it is just so good, and they did so well compared to like the actual Star Wars trilogy. But this is the Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanson. It was also nominated. It's been a bestseller. I've heard really great things about it so far. If you know Reylo, it's kind of like Reylo, like it is based in Southeast Asian mythology magic, and I think that's really cool because I've never read a book based on Southeast Asian magic or mythology, and I also don't know how they adapted it, but basically they're on 2 opposing sides. Like he hates her, she hates him, and you know, enemies to lovers, baby. I totally simplified that way too much, but let me know if you've read this. Also, for any of these books, let me know if you've read this and which one you think I should pick up in this month. I do have like kind of a TBR. I'm open to suggestions. Let's just dive into Star Wars now since I'm already here. I'm just gonna mention these next 3 all together. So this is the Thrawn trilogy. I really fell in love with Thrawn from reading this first book a couple years ago, but I never continued the series. And the second one, which is Thrawn Alliances, is with Darth Vader, and we get a lot of Anakin flashbacks and Anakin lore. If you saw the Ahsoka series, you'll know who Thrawn is. If you saw Rebels, you know who Thrawn is. Let me know if you want like any sort of like dedicated video on this. I think I'm gonna do it. I just want to read more Star Wars books before I give like a comprehensive or like a beginner's guide to Star Wars literature. These books are so cool. I love the covers. So that's Thrawn. This is Thrawn Alliances, and this is Thrawn Treason. So this is kind of where he ends up at the end of An Empire Strikes Back. I think that's where it lines up in the timeline, so we'll see. I've only read the first one, and I'm actually in a reread of it since I had read it for a long time ago. I want to finish the reread this month because I started it for the Ahsoka series, then life got in the way. All I could do was watch the Ahsoka series, not actually read, or didn't have any energy to read, but I'm ready to pick this up, finish it, so I can get to the rest of the books next year. Now, the next book got the hint that I am a Star Wars fan, in particular an Anakin Daddy fan, in particular also a Kenobi fan. You you would be correct. I hate that this sticker just came out so ugly. It's like so sticky. I want to cry. But this is Star Wars Brotherhood. This takes place in the time frame of the Clone Wars. I do understand that there's a spicy scene between Anakin and Padme here, where they're like hiding in like the lower levels of Coruscant and, you know, getting up to naughty things in the speed cruiser. I love their dynamic. If you saw Kenobi, you'll know that I was really obsessed. Well, you won't know that I was obsessed, but it was epic, okay? It was epic. I love the fan service. There's like a sect of Star Wars fans that wishes they would stop making so much fan service. I'm not one of them. If Disney with Star Wars has one fan, it's me. If they have no fans, I'm dead. Like, that is basically how I'm feeling about this. So this is by Mike Chen. I've heard good things about this book. Honestly, I feel like I've heard really good things overall about the Star Wars books because they get a lot of really like distinguished authors to write their takes. It's just nice. Okay, let's continue before it gets too dark. So that's it for the Star Wars books, but let's get into another big one. Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know what compelled me to buy the book. I know I'm gonna read it eventually. I just want to read it after I finish Mistborn trilogy, and I have not finished Mistborn trilogy, okay? I think I'm gonna like it. I liked Mistborn. I want to get into it. Everyone says that this is his best, like his magnum opus. Is that how they say it? It is just big. It is a big book. This is a weapon at this point. So I'm kind of living for it. I really don't know much about it. All I know is that it takes place in the Cosmere, which is Brandon Sanderson's multiverse, and it is a science fiction fantasy. I don't know anything about it because I don't read like what books are about before I buy them, apparently. Okay, another book, but this one I do know what it's about. It is the Iliad by Homer. This is the translation by Emily Wilson. I loved her translation of the Odyssey. I feel like it was the first time I ever read a classics book and actually understood it and enjoyed it. And I just think that she does a phenomenal job about making mythology and these epic poems so accessible for like the normal person. I also think that it gives a good perspective of how it was translated from a woman's perspective because, for example, I don't think in anywhere one of the examples they use, I'm going to correct myself if I'm wrong, but in the Odyssey, they never really talk about how Athena's eyes are gray, but Athena's eyes are like canonically gray, and it just had to do with translation. They said like clear eyes, they said like a wise eyes, they never used the word gray. So those are sort of things. Also how they talk about women, so they'll talk about slaves, they'll talk about servants, they'll talk about like all of the women slaves or slaves sort of. Also something that astonished me was like everyone was bathing in olive oil, which like, you know, if that's up your alley, then fine. But I would love to get into this in the new year. And also it's a beautiful book. I feel like it's even like so beautiful that it could be a coffee table book, and it's also like very much in the season of Christmas, if you ask me. Definitely recommend if you're looking to get into classics, pick up Emily Wilson's translations. I'm sure that this is going to be just as phenomenal, and it's also super long. I also recommend getting the physical copy because she includes maps and different things where you can like go back and forth when it comes to translation notes. And I tried to read the first book on Kindle. It didn't work. I would say get it with the accompanying audiobook. Like if we're already going there, get it with the audiobook too, because it's just like, it's recited in such a beautiful way too. So yeah, the Iliad. On a completely different note, another series that I picked up was the Jujutsu Kaisen volumes 1 to 4. I really like this series. I'm not up to date. I know a lot of things happen and I've been spoiled for a lot of the things, so I'm kind of just waiting for the hype to die down so I can pick up the books and the series again and like watch it again. I really like this. If you are someone that you like kind of like body horror or you like fantasy, like dark fantasy, I think you would like this. I think the only thing that this series misses is romance, and even then like the fans make up for it because like they're so like they're in their shipping wars and everything. I really recommend if you like fantasy and you like dark fantasy, like this series is so good. If you want like I would say it's a pretty approachable manga to read and to start with, and I really like how the women in the series are represented, which that's one of my biggest gripes with a lot of shonen. So yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen volumes 1 through 4. Since we're in box sets, I'll just continue with the next box set, and I actually haven't opened it, so maybe I should go ahead and open it. But it is the Clockwork, The Infernal Devices, books 1 to 3, which there are only 3 books because it's a trilogy, and I am very much excited to pick up this series. I picked it up because I bought the first series because I read the first series originally like on a Kindle, and I think also from the library, like physical copies from the library when I lived in the States prior to life happening, and I love them so much. Like I love them in a nostalgia way. I won't say that like I feel like I couldn't tell you pick up this series now if you hadn't read it before. Does that make sense? But I do think this series is one that you could pick up now. Like the Infernal Devices is one that you could pick up now if you hadn't read like the Cassandra Clare universe before. And then after you read this one, if you really can't stand reading the Mortal Instruments, like pick up this one, then read the Mortal Instruments. But technically, the order is that you read the books 1 through 3 of the Mortal Instruments first, and then you read this series. That is Cassandra Clare's recommendation. So yeah, I like how, I'm trying to like not get the sunset reflected, but I really just love how it has like the people on the sides, and the Mortal Instruments also spines have it, and I just think it'll look so nice on a bookshelf one day, on my dream bookshelf. I'm manifesting it. In case you don't know, the first book, and you're interested in picking it up, the first book is The Clockwork Angel, and this is about Tessa Gray. She's human from what I gather. She ends up in Victorian London, so this is kind of also a historical romance, which I love things set in Victorian London. She ends up in Victorian London, and she's surrounded by all of these demons and downworlders, and she's kind of navigating that realm, and she kind of finds herself in the middle of a big plot. So that's all I want to say, and all I can really summarize in a way that makes sense to me as a warning, and also to invite you. This has one of the best love triangles I've ever read, and I'm not a love triangle person. I'm not, I swear, because I always feel bad for the other person. But this has one of the best love triangles I've ever read, and I've only read the first one, so like I think I know who she ends up with because of spoilers. Yeah, I want to see how she gets there because I love the other love interest too, so we'll see how that goes. So to stay in that realm of urban fantasy, I'm gonna recommend Ascend from the Shadows. This is an indie published book by Alexandra Larson, and it is so good. I actually read the arc of this book, and I really liked it. It is a very much, in my opinion, a very classic urban fantasy. Normal girl gets put into like a situation where she discovers she has magical powers, but how she does it is so good. And there's also a love triangle in this one, and it's also so good where I'm at the point where I'm about to be like, why does she have to choose? I'm at that point right now with this love triangle. The second book comes out in December 29th, I believe, and I actually have the arc to that one too. So I'm really excited, and I had to get a physical copy because, you know, when you're involved in someone's process, you gotta be involved in someone's process, you know? So I'm really excited that I got this copy. So yeah, the second book is called Descend into the Void. So on the note of indie published fantasies, I'm going to talk about Air Fates by Rowan Redfield. This is actually like a first edition of her novel, and I also read an arc about this one, and I love this series. This is like Game of Thrones, but if they were more queer. Also, the main character is like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and also the villains are like, they go through really nice arcs, you know? Like, it's a very good subversion of the tropes, and also it's like a really cool magic system. I can't say it another way without getting into the weeds because there's just a lot of different types of stuff going on in this book, and a lot of different types of characters all building against it. And I think the thing I like the most about this book is like the reluctant hero. I love the reluctant hero. Basically, your heart is gonna break with this book, but I had to get a physical copy for the same reason that I got a copy of Ascend into the Void. I was part of this. I need to be part of it. So I had to have a copy for myself. So next book. Continuing the indie sphere, but now we're going on to contemporary. Renewed by Nikki Kiley. If the name seems familiar, it's because it is. It's actually my mom's series. Fourth book in the series came out, and it is so good. It is a contemporary romance. It has the spice, it has the steam, and it takes place in Miami, and it is about our main character who, she is a homestager. She has a one-night stand with a random guy who she thinks she's never gonna see again. She gives him even a fake name. 3 months later, boom, she has to work for him. Boom. Like in a good way, you know, like in a hee ha ha. Not in like that way, but like, you know, they have to work together. She's also a single mom, which if you're into that, I didn't know that I was into that until I read this. I think it's a very charming trope. I definitely think that it's on my top tropes now, way over, like I think my least favorite contemporary romance tropes is the accidental pregnancy, but this one, I really like the single mom trope, and I never expected to like the single mom trope because I'm not a mom. And you know, sometimes when it's not your lived experience, you're like, what? Why would I read that? So this was really good. It is a short book, and I really recommend it. It is out now where books are sold. And so now, kind of delving back into YA and fantasy, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Obviously, I really wanted a physical copy of this book. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I always wanted the red copies. I have like the hardcovers that are gray, and I wanted this one. I wanted it. I think it's pretty, and I want to buy the rest of them that are all in their associated colors. I think that they look nice, and I would really like to reread this book before Crescent City 3 comes out, but who knows, because my TBR just keeps getting longer and longer by the day. But this needs no introduction. I'm gonna just continue. Then the next book that I got, and this is actually just such a beautiful book that I have to like highlight it, and I wish that there was more light out right now so I can really highlight it. But this is A Curse for True Love. I got the Amazon exclusive edition. I'm not gonna try to like take off the sticker right now after that disaster with Brotherhood, but look how beautiful this edition is. Like, it is gilded. It says The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox. I read this book already. My last vlog kind of talks about, like, the first book day of BOOKMAS talks about what I thought about this book. I don't know what I think about it still. It definitely, I need a break from Stephanie Garber for a while, but I love the characters. I just like think it's a story. So this is the culmination of Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is the first book in the series, but this series is also a spin-off of her Caraval series with some of the same characters that have a role in the Caraval series. So yeah, if you like Stephanie Garber, if you like magic, this is more of a YA than anything else. There's nothing like explicitly steamy in this book. I would recommend it. I just think me and Stephanie Garber, we should have a chat. Not really, because reviews are for reviewers, but you know, if she ever wanted my opinion, I would give it to her. You know what I'm saying? So anyways. Okay, and then the next book, staying on that YA realm, and again, it has a sticker and I want to take it off, but I'm not going to take it off. It is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is a prequel to the Hunger Games series. There's actually a movie out. That's why I bought it. I'm just in the process of figuring out whether I want to read this and then reread the Hunger Games, or reread the Hunger Games and then read this. So if you know, let me know what you recommend. If you've done it, let me know what you recommend. I could probably look it up, but I don't feel like it right now. The movie has come out. Everyone's obsessed with like the Draco Malfoy looking President Snow. It is kind of his origin story, why he is the way he is. It's like a villain origin story, and it puts a lot of things together of like why President Snow hated Katniss so much. And I've seen like the spoilers for it. I do consider the Hunger Games a classic, so I don't think this is one of those books where I'm like, oh my god, a spoiler. I definitely don't know what this is about, other than the fact that like there's this girl called Lucy and he was obsessed with her or something like that, and that President Snow was like poor apparently, but he had status and something or other. That's what it's about. And it's also like takes place when Panem is like kind of in its infancy, so it's kind of setting the precedence for what we're going to expect for the games. So anyways, that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And then the final book that I will mention is The Maid by Nita Prose. I really don't read much mystery, but I am excited to read this because I'm reading it with my grandma. And basically it is a whodunit mystery. It is short, and it is about a maid that kind of gets framed for murder in New York City. And you know, I think that is a good summary for that book, because I'm not getting into it more, because again, we don't go into books knowing what they're about. Okay, so anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy that I was able to film this video before the sun went down. And let me know if you've read any of these books, if you recommend them, if you think I should prioritize one over the other, or if you think that I should not even touch one of those books and go ahead and put it on my Pango books because I'm not gonna like it. So anyways, toodaloo! See you in the next episode of BOOKMAS. Bye!